Hello y'all, welcome to another speed reviews video. I'm going to do these a little bit different moving forward because typically what I've done is I've taken everything that I tested in the month, and at the end of the month I do a speed reviews of everything, and I'm just not going to have time to do that anymore. If you guys watch my last video, I do briefly talk about the fact that I'm going back into the office now. So I am in the office 5 days a week and I'm coming home and I'm exhausted. I just don't have the time to film in the evenings, and I don't want to rush through any content. I still want to deliver like my thoughts, my true and honest thoughts to you guys. I really want to spend a good amount of time testing these things, and I might not have as much time to test them in the month. These are all things that I purchased for myself, things that I thought I would like. I mean, I do feature them on my channel in new makeup releases videos and things like that, but they're all things that I consumed because I wanted to consume them. And it's probably not going to be as many things in these speed reviews either. Now, I did have a bunch of stuff because I didn't do a speed reviews for the beginning of January for the stuff that I tested in December. So I've like accumulated more than I wanted to put into one video, because I do try and put all of these products on my face for you guys so you can see the cutaways of me applying everything and my thoughts, because when I come to you, I'm putting the last product on that I'm like using in these cutaways on my face, and then you don't really get to see what they look like on, and I think that's super helpful. Also, I'm not going to call them purchase or pass. I'm really just going to give you my honest and true thoughts of how these things performed and how I enjoyed them, and whether I'm going to incorporate them into my everyday life. Now, especially that I'm going into the office, I really want to only grab for the things that I like, and so I'm doing a lot less of the collection for collection's sake or testing because I'm making content. I'm really trying to find things that I enjoy. Even though I'm an over consumer, I absolutely spend more than I need to. I like reviewing things, I like testing things, and it's part of the reason that I wanted to start my channel, because I like doing those things. I think that you might as well make it helpful and you share what your thoughts are so that helps other consumers. So that's where I'm at, you guys. I do have another speed reviews video coming, but it's just not going to be like once a month at the beginning of the month. They're just going to be general speed reviews. So I do have new releases in here. I have things that I picked up that I wanted for myself that I picked up after Christmas with some of the gift cards that I got. And I do have some things that I've tested from advent calendars that I picked up before the new year, probably before Christmas. So that's a little update to this. There's 27 things, as you guys saw in the title. Let's get into it. I start talking about the things as I apply them to my face, so I kind of go in that order. We'll start off with brows. All right, this was a new release. This is from NYX. This is the Blade and Shade Brow Pencil, and this one is in the shade Taupe. And I think it's important to say that because this is actually a little bit warmer than I was hoping that it would be for a shade in taupe. When I think of taupe, I always think of something that's cool tone. Realistically, I probably picked this up because it was a new release from NYX, and I'm always on the hunt. And you guys will probably always hear me say this until I'm no longer on the hunt for an affordable brow pencil, but I am on the hunt for an affordable brow pencil. And NYX is fairly affordable. I wouldn't say this is the cheapest thing ever, but this is a really thin microblade. So it kind of goes like flat on one side and then it's really precise on the other side. This doesn't claim to be waterproof, but this lasts all day. It doesn't take me longer to apply this than a regular brow pencil that's like not micro fine. So I love it. I love it. I have come to love this. I would try a cooler shade. I think they have like a cool blonde or something like that in the line. They also come out with a bunch of different shades, which I think is good because sometimes the more expensive brow pencils only come in like 4 or 5 colors, where this one I think comes in like 12. I like the tones and the undertone variety that they have. Again, I just don't think this took me longer to apply than a lot of other brow pencils. There's a couple of things I like on this that I think make it a unique pencil, in that the tip is shaped so you can go kind of broad stroke, but you can also do super fine in the front, like detail work. I actually really do like that about it, because I think my favorite pencils, even though I didn't realize it when I bought it, those do turn out to be some of my favorite pencils. And also it's got clear packaging on either side, so you can see which side's the pencil and which side is the little spoolie, because I'll tell you what, I'm always reaching for the wrong side. So I actually think this was a 10 out of 10. I really enjoyed this. Again, it lasts pretty long and it's kind of affordable. I want to say it was like, I don't know, $11.99 or something like that. So it's not the cheapest thing ever. It's more like Sephora prices for the Sephora collection as opposed to like something from e.l.f. But I will be repurchasing that. I did like it a lot. The next thing is a single shadow, because I don't talk about any eyeshadow palettes in these videos. I always do ranking videos for you guys. So all the singles go in these speed reviews. I tested out the Fairy Dust Duochrome Eye Topper from JCat, and I picked this up because I've always wanted to love JCat Beauty's eye products, like their single products. They came out with one a couple of years ago, and then like last year, maybe the year before, people were saying it was a really nice formula, and JCat is pretty affordable. But whatever that formula was, and it doesn't even matter, but it just wasn't good. Like it was dry for me. It didn't pick pick up. It wasn't as light reflecting, but I saw these and I like the packaging too. So I wanted to get this. This one is in the shade Magic Spell. I actually think these are really good singles. They perform very similarly to the ones that I spend a lot more money on. So there you go. I think they are sparkly though. They do have like quite a bit of fallout, I would say, if you're not using a glitter glue, which I always use a glitter glue with these just to keep that fallout from happening. But these are pretty and they last all day with the glitter glue. And these are, oh my gosh, $5.99, I'm pretty sure. I really enjoyed this. I do have a larger than normal singles collection, you know, probably than the average consumer. And I've been reaching for singles a lot more lately. So I don't know, I like this. This is a definite keep for me. I couldn't see myself like decluttering that in a declutter because I like it so much. It's affordable and I tend to declutter more affordable things, but I do really enjoy it. Aside from the fact that it's affordable, it performed really well. All right, I have two mascaras here that were new releases, both from the drugstore. These are like play on what they already had in their line. So the first one, the Paradise Big Deal Mascara, is the waterproof version. Again, just a play on the Paradise mascara, and they're supposed to be volumizing, both of these. In comparison to the other ones, I like that both of these have the plastic, shorter molded bristle wands. But here's what I've come to find about mascaras. I can't even give an honest review when I'm first using them straight and fresh out of the tube. I think they need to sit like a week at the very minimum, sometimes 2 weeks after you've opened them for me to see how they change in performance, because 100% of the time they change for me. I have actually fallen in love with mascaras as the formula dried out like 2 weeks after the fact, but I didn't give them a good review initially. So this mascara I think I liked when I first tried it. It's kind of a slicker mascara, meaning it doesn't have that tackiness that grips to the lashes. It kind of moves through them pretty quickly, and it does claim like several times on the Ulta website that it's non-clumping, but it's a clumping mascara. So much so that like it kind of takes like 5 lashes and like clumps them into 3 or 2 or whatever. It's crunchy too. Like when it dries, it will stay all day and it won't flake, and that's all fine and dandy. And I like that it's waterproof, and some waterproof mascaras just in nature are a little bit more, I want to say dry. Like they definitely get a little bit chunky. They just dry to the eyelash a lot more than some non-waterproof ones. I don't like this. I think that I'll tolerate it. And if you look at my left eye, it gives great length and definition. It's definitely pigmented enough to show the lashes off, but I don't like how clumpy it gets. I will say that I think I'll tolerate this through its end of life, and then I just won't repurchase it. All right, the next one is the Panorama Mascara, which is another play on their release. I want to say that it was last year that they put out the Panorama Mascara for the first time, and that came in like a gold packaging. This one's the voluminous one. It's in the shade All Night Black. And when I tested these mascaras, I tested one on either side for the first time in a video, and I liked this one the least, but I like it more now that it's dried out, because this one is a tackier formula, which is something I personally prefer because it really grips to the lashes. And I think that it helps kind of fan it out a little bit more instead of like such a wet formula. It's so emollient, it's like clumping the lashes together. That's just me personally. I think this performs very similarly to the other one, and then it like kind of gets chunky and it doesn't flake, but it stays all day. This one isn't the waterproof version. I don't know if they came out with a waterproof version of this, but anyway, I like the length that it gives. I like the volume. I don't think this one is as clumpy. I don't personally mind clumpy though, so if it's a little bit clumpy, it's okay. Again, I don't think this was like a home run for me, but it might change. The more that I use this, I might actually become more keen on it than I currently am, but I already am more keen on it than when I initially tried both of these together. So now, if I'm gonna recommend one to you, if you like volumizing mascaras, it's gonna be the Panorama. Let's move on into complexion products. I picked up 3 new releases because I thought I would like them. Only one of them I like, so that's a bummer. The NYX Buttermelt Glaze is the next one. This is the soft skin tint with sunscreen with SPF of 30. This is supposed to be like a sheer sunscreen. It's not really supposed to be like a high amount of coverage. It's only 10 shades, I'm pretty sure. It's like a very, very limited shade range. And so when I initially got this, I thought that it was gonna be such a sheer coverage that you could almost use it as a primer, but I think I was wrong. It goes on really sheer, but then once you put concealer on top of it and you powder, for whatever reason, it starts looking more full coverage and more glam. glam. It actually has a long lasting power. I will say though that like I've always powdered over it, so I don't know how it would perform if I didn't. I do know that it's very glossy initially upon application, and then if you powder over it, it's gone. So it loses its effect of like what it's supposed to be if you do that, which I personally always do, because if I don't, nothing would last on my face. But I like it. I like it so much for being light coverage, and that the coverage isn't coming from this heavy application of a liquid foundation. It's actually quite pretty, quite surprisingly more glam, more full coverage than I thought it was gonna be. I think the shade range kind of sucks though, because I found it more full coverage, like 10 shades is just not gonna work. By the way, I have mine in the lightest shade, which is 01 Whipped Butter. I will say this does have like a bit of a scent to it. It's not just the sunscreen, it's like the added scent that NYX I find is like putting in a lot of their products, of their new releases. So if you guys don't like that, you probably wouldn't like this one. It does say 93% skincare formula with niacinamide, mango, and shea butter. So if any of those ingredients irritate your skin or make you break out or whatever, I don't think you'd like this. NYX does a lot of added things like mango and shea butter, I find, and like added fragrance and stuff like that. So I think for sensitive skin, I wouldn't recommend this. I will say though, the texture of this is definitely interesting upon application. If you guys have tried the blur screen that they have, which I've been using every single day, which is like a primer and a sunscreen in one, it's tacky. It's so sticky, it like grips to your face. And some things don't sit great on top of it, so I really have to let it sink into the skin before I put on foundation or like pat it in with a sponge. This has kind of a similar kind of sticky texture. Not as sticky as the blur screen, but a little bit. All right, another new release, you guys, the Milani Conceal and Perfect Blur Out Skin Tint Stick. This one is in the shade 03, so this one has more shades. I got this because I fell in love with the Dior skin stick that came out, and I thought, oh my gosh, maybe I'm gonna love this one too, and it's affordable. And I think that's fine when you first apply it, but it doesn't have a great wear. That's kind of the problem. It definitely dries down, and the dryness kind of causes some of it to break apart on my nose. So it's not the best wearer, but it's pretty going on. It's kind of like a soft matte, like Blur Out Skin Tint Stick. You know, if you think Blur Out, you think like kind of soft matte, which I think this gives. So this particular one is not one that's gonna make its way into my collection. It's probably one that I'm gonna end up decluttering because it just doesn't work for me. Like maybe something I'd pass along to my sister. I don't hate it. It's not a hate situation. It's not a love. So those aren't the kinds of things I'm keeping anymore. Like, meh, you're okay. I'm not keeping things like that. I feel very similarly about this concealer. It's the Westman Atelier Vital Skincare Concealer, and this is meant to be full coverage, and this one is in L2. It's fine with 1 dot. It's a thicker full coverage concealer. If you have fine lines, I think it's gonna sink into them. I think if you put more than 1 dot, if you're used to doing that, I think that's probably bad news for most people, because I do find that this settles in and creases, and it does look heavy and cakey, and it's on the drier side when it dries down. I'm just saying all bad things, but I think if you put 1 dot, it's okay, but it's more textured and sinks in more than I would like it to, than some of my other concealers. So it's not a hell no for me. It's just like a no thank you kind of situation. I just don't find this to be the best formulation for a full coverage concealer, and I'm only wanting to reach for things that are absolutely perfect. Things I just love reaching for, and when I catch myself in the mirror and I'm having such a good wear test or wear day, or just the wear of the makeup in general, those are the things that I want to keep. So this is not going to make it into those things and of my collection. All right, if you know me, I'm still obsessed with blush. I'm not gonna say obsessed, but no, I'm gonna say obsessed. I like trying not to use that word, but it's pretty apparent in my blush collection that I cannot help test new formulas, and that blush just looks so beautiful that I feel the need to collect more to give it a shot, because there's going to be one out there that just blows my mind, and it does happen. Unfortunately, I do fall in love with a lot of blush. So I do have some stuff here that was from like the Ipsy sale. I do have some things from advent calendars, new releases, and things that were on my wish list. So first up is the Born Ruby Oh So Natural Blush Drops. This was from the Ipsy shop, and this one is in Peach Charmeuse. This comes on a puffy style applicator. I think it was like $2 when I picked it up. It was very affordable. Initially, I didn't really like this because the Oh So Natural part, I felt like just was like a soft matte, or even kind of a harder matte. And then it was like a little bit flat on the cheeks, but the more I used it, actually the more I really enjoyed it. It's very pigmented though, and a lot comes out on this puffy applicator, and you don't need that much because it's pigmented. So it's like, use what's on the puffy and just that. Like, don't even squeeze it till you see stuff, just like tiny squeezes, and there's something coming up there. I actually apply this directly to the cheeks and it's really gorgeous. I just blend it in. I like when it's not so pigmented or it's not such a thick formula you can't blend it out. It's just not blendable or it dries too quickly. This is very blendable and it dries perfectly and it lasts all day. I actually do really like this. My favorite though is to apply it without powdering my cheek and put it on top of something that's more hydrating or glowy. That's my preferred way to wear this. I don't like something matte over it. I don't like to powder over it, and I don't like to wear it on top of like a fully matte foundation. I will use this. I grew to like this. I think I didn't give it the greatest review when I initially tested it, but I do like it so much more now. The next one is a really affordable one from AOA Studio that I picked up so many months ago, and I just didn't test it because the first time I tried it, I really didn't like it. It's called the Color Flush Liquid Blush, and this one's in Cherry Wood. I didn't like it for a couple of reasons. The tiny doe foot applicator, the fact that I was kind of like swiping it onto the cheek and it looked much more matte. Same thing with this one that I feel about the Born Ruby one, is that if you just like dot it onto the cheeks, it's a lot softer and can be a lot glossier. And I like the way that it blends in. All of these ones that come in doe foot applicators that I'm going to talk about, I can draw straight onto the cheeks, which I don't always find. I think that's personally a plus, and that's why I mention it to you guys, because most of them I'm just putting on the back of my hand, but I don't need to do that with this. I think it's nice and it lasts all day. I just have a preferred way to apply it. So another one that I actually think I will use, I want to keep in my collection and continue using. It's so weird. Like, the more you use something, you could love it and then you start hating it, or you hated it and then you start loving it. I think that was the case with both of these. All right, the next one, I saw a lot of these going into advent calendars, and this is a tester probably. It's the blush drops from Rodial. It's just their liquid blush in the shade Sunset Kiss. This also comes out of doe foot applicator. This one's different because it is metallic. It's not glossy or dewy or anything like that. It's like a drier metallic formula. I personally like it because I like a metallic finish, but it emphasizes texture, as you guys can see in the cutaway. It's definitely not smoothing or for the faint of heart, basically. I'd be interested to see like how it would perform in an actual dropper as opposed to putting this straight onto the cheeks, because when I do, it's pretty dark pigmented. I like a metallic cheek, and I don't have a ton of things like this in my collection, so I personally like it. The next one is from W7. I got this in an advent calendar too, the Cheeky Dip liquid blusher, and this one is in the shade, you guys, I don't even know what shade this is in. I am so sorry. Something pink. This is a dupe of something because the full size is actually in the shape of another blush. I just can't remember what it is. This one I really liked. This is almost a staining formula. It's like popsicle cheek. It's really pretty, but it's really pigmented. It lasts all day. I think you need to go in light with this. I really don't like the way that I applied it in this video. It was just too heavy, but it's so glossy and so pretty, even though it lasts all day, and it really is kind of a staining formula. So it's not budging. It doesn't even budge on my swatches. I have to like really scrub to get this off. This is actually really good, but it's not a surprise because even though W7 is an affordable UK brand that dupes other things, their quality is usually amazing and not a lot of people talk about them. I have them in my local CVS, but I don't know how many other people do. All right, there were a couple of formulas that I was like, no, or shades even. So if you guys have ever heard me talk about Lancome, the blush subtils, they are genuinely some of my favorite powder formulas, and I have several shades, but I wanted to pick up something different. So I got Cedar Rose, and I hate it. It's so sheer, I just don't even see it picking up, and it's not a well-performing blush either. This is something that like, it gets kind of patchy, I think. Like you can kind of see it in some spots and not see it in others. I don't know why it doesn't perform as well as my other blush subtils, because I have two other shades in my collection, and this one is completely matte, but I don't even think it shows up. So this one, unfortunately, is probably a shade I'm gonna end up decluttering at some point. I think if you're like super duper fair, Cedar Rose might be a good option, but not for me. All right, Singe Beauty and her new blushes, the Evocative Silk Blush. I have mine in the shade Riveting Rhubarb. You know, it's funny. When I first tried this, I thought it was pretty matte. And then when I saw Angie do a declutter, she kept saying like she likes it because it's like a shimmery formula. And I was like, what? It is? not shimmery, but like it has sheen to it is what I should say. I never noticed it until I started like swatching it and like looking for it, and I was like, oh, it does have a sheen to it. The thing is, it only shows up on my swatch. I never notice it when I put this to my cheeks. It's a fine powder formula. I'd say it's buildable, but it can be pretty pigmented. I just don't notice the sheen like she says. It's just, it dissipates when you use a brush is basically how I feel about it. So I don't know, it's not my favorite powder formula blush ever. I think I would hold on to it and keep trying to use it. It's not a bad formula, but it did not make it into the top of my memory, into my mind. It's not my favorite in my collection. And I don't want to give creators products like a bad review, but I do want to be honest. I think there are people who probably would really love this. You know, if you like just a kind of matter powder formula, or it turns out more sheeny on you, or even in different shades turn out more sheeny, then I think it's fine. I think it's pretty long lasting. I just don't think personally, because I feel like it was a little bit more on the matte side on me every time I get it to the cheeks, that like it skyrocketed to the top of my matte blush formulas. If that makes any sense at all, you guys, I'm trying to tiptoe around it, but it just didn't become my favorite. That's kind of what it comes down to. It's fine, it's nice. I didn't find it super remarkable. Another one I didn't find super remarkable. This is from Chantecaille. It's the cheek shade in Laughter, which is the coral shade. What the actual nonsense. I'm not a big Chantecaille user, but for Christmas I got some gift cards, and some of them were from Nordstrom's and Macy's, and I think I ended up getting this on Nordstrom's website. But this is so freaking small, and I thought that's fine for Chantecaille because it comes in like a metal packaging. No, this is plastic. It is so cheap. It is so light. It's one of the lightest blushes in my collection. And then it had an overspray. The Coral Reef actually had like sparkles on it, and then as soon as I started using it, they went away, and it's just like this matte blush. It's just matte. It's like meh. It's so sad. The packaging was disappointing. The formula was kind of disappointing, and it's just a matte blush. It kind of looks a little flat on the cheeks. I have not found a Chantecaille products that I love. If you guys have any recommendations, I definitely test them out just for curiosity's sake. But Chantecaille is not a brand that I find like a huge interest in continuing to try things, because every time I try it, I don't know, I don't get as excited in application as I do just looking at the pictures. So the next one is from About Face. It's the Cheek Freak Blush Balm, and this is in Score. I've had 2 of these shades in my collection before, so this is not a new formula to me, but I wanted to bring it in today's video because, oh my gosh, do I love lavender blush. The Cheek Freak Blush Balm, it's really one of those like popsicle stain formulas, so it's not like super pigmented, it's more like a silica base. It feels like silicone kind of going on, and it's more sheer. So that's what I mean, like popsicle stain. What I do love about this is that it really is diffused and airbrush looking, and it's not overly pigmented, but I don't like this on bare cheeks because your freckles peek through, so it kind of looks a little funny. So I did apply this in the cutaway like on a bare cheek, and I don't recommend that. I like this over a foundation. I think it even applies better over a powder. I think it like kind of grips to the skin a little bit better. But the thing that I love about lavender blush is all those people that were getting into in 2023 and the beginning of 24, the baby pink blushes. Every time I put it on, I'd be like, why do I look sick? Why do I look sick? I'm so fair. How come this doesn't work for me? And I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that they're like white based, and I don't think lavender blushes are very white based. I think they give me that baby pink that I'm looking for that doesn't have like that white cast that I hate. So if you're as fair as me, you guys should check out a lavender blush. See what it does for you. See if you love it. I love it. I've been loving it. All right, this is a fairly new release, the Luminous Silk Cheek Tint from Armani. This one's in the shade 62, which I think is just like mauve or something, or pink. I didn't actually initially get this. As I said in my video trying this on, I thought, well, another liquid blush? No, thank you. But then I saw Allie Glines test it, and it looked really pretty. I thought this was actually gonna be more sheer, but it's not. It's like the perfect amount of pigmentation. Another doe foot you can draw straight onto the cheeks. It's pretty long lasting. It's a little tiny bit glossy. It's kind of in the middle. It's not like an overly glowy formula, but it's not fully matte or anything. It's like perfect. It's a perfect balance. Blends. it builds, it lasts, all the good stuff. I mean, I have other formulas that are like this, but Armani did a good job. All right, I have one bronzer, and that is it. I've been steadily staying away from buying new bronzers. From RMS Beauty, I picked up the Beach Walk Betty from the Redimension Hydra Bronzer. I knew this was a new release and I had wanted it, and you guys kept saying, get Beach Walk Betty, you're going to love it. And I do. This is perfection. RMS Beauty and her freaking cheek products, she does such a good job. It's that Hydra Gel Powder formula that really picks up nicely on a fluffy brush or a dense brush. Because it's a little bit of a stiffer formula, it applies beautifully because of that. You're not getting a bunch of kick up. It's not overly powdery. The shade is fabulous. It's got like almost a red tinge to it. She didn't make a bronzer that was orange. She made one that was like, oh my gosh, how do I even describe this? It really is like almost red. It's more of a red pigment than an orange pigment. She just did it so good. And this one has a nice sheen to it. So freaking gorgeous. It's not metallic, but you can see the sheen. So good. I don't regret this. It's absolutely weaved its way into one of my favorite bronzers in my collection. All right, 2 highlighters for this month, and I absolutely enjoyed both of them. I did a C Beauty haul, and I haven't talked about anything in a speed reviews, I don't think yet. It was PR. I had a gift card so I could pick the things that I wanted. So I picked up a couple of things from Judy Doll was the brand. It's the highlighting powder. That's it. And this one's in the shade 01. It looked so cool because it was like a donut. It's really more subtle than I thought it was going to be. I'm not going to say this doesn't build up to be pretty intense, but I do think you have to pick up like a bigger brush, because if you pick up something fluffier, it's pretty subtle. I was expecting this to be way more high impact, and I don't think it is. So I actually think it's a highlighter a lot of people will enjoy, because it goes from pretty sheer to pretty intense depending upon how much you want to apply. And I think it's a believable formula. Not glittery, not too intense, doesn't sit on top of the blush. It blends in really nicely. So good. So good. I really enjoyed this. Honestly, that C Beauty haul was kind of a hit. There was not a ton of stuff I did not like. So you'll see, I'm going to talk about some more of their lip products in an upcoming video, but this was amazing. And it's so cute too. You're going to see this in my collection years from now when I'm doing declutters. This is still going to be here. I guarantee you. All right, this one will probably be as well. This was something I bought myself from my Christmas gift cards. It's the highlighter from Dior. What is this called? The Couture Luminizer in Pink Glow. I got so into pink highlighters this year. I just thought they looked so good on top of a pink blush. And I had been wanting to try a highlighter from Dior because the only one I've ever tried was the face palette. So it had like the 4 highlighters and it was glittery and I didn't like it, but I had it in 02 and not 01. I knew this existed, so I wanted to try this. This is pretty intense though, way more intense than the one from Judy Doll. I don't think if you like something that's not metallic, you would like this. I think it does like emphasize quite a bit of texture because it's just so intense. I don't know how much you can dial it back. I don't think you can. I personally love an intense highlighter, especially because mine tends to fade throughout the day and I'm touching it and all sorts of stuff. So like maybe the more intense it starts out, the fact that it fades and wears better is kind of a good scenario for me personally and how my makeup wears. It's intense, but it's so pretty and the packaging is so cute. Again, a highlighter you'll probably see in my collection several years from now. All right, let's move on to lip products. I actually got this for Christmas. This was like in a set that my husband bought. It's the Cream Glide lip liner from e.l.f. and this one is in the shade Truth or Bear. It's more of a warm toned nude shade, but holy cow, I didn't even know these existed. This is so good. This is legitimately the creamiest wooden pencil formula in a lip liner I have ever tried. I kept wearing this over and over and over. This was so good. I want to go buy more shades in this formula. I highly recommend that to you for sure. And these got to be so affordable. Like I can't imagine they're more than like $4 on these, but they're worth it. If they're 5 or 6, I still think that they're worth it. There's just nothing to the packaging, you know? But it's perfect. It performs really well. And for something so creamy, these last and last and last for hours. So I thoroughly enjoyed this. I highly recommend these to you guys. If you're somebody who really enjoys lip liners and testing new lip liners, I think you'd like this. Because I think it just checks kind of all the boxes. Like it's definitely creamy. It's not retractable, so it won't check that box, but it lasts long. So in like that way, it's fabulous. Another thing from e.l.f., this is the Pout Clout Lip Plumping Pen. You know, this surprisingly is in the shade Mauve. Okay, it's in the shade Busta Mauve, but it's not mauve at all. It's like a brown shade. I think it's a good formula. It's more pepperminty plumping. It's not burning plumping. I actually don't even really feel it all that much. I think that it's really high shine and it's not like a melty pen. It's more of those that remains kind of solid in the pen, even though it's a click up type, but it doesn't smooth out my lip lines, even though it's super high shine. It has that stickiness to it that makes it stay, but it's not a sticky formula. But yeah, it just doesn't smooth out my lip lines like some kind of high shine glosses do. So it's good. I'm not gonna buy extra shades in that. If that makes sense, I liked it, I'll keep it, but I wouldn't repurchase. Okay. Also wouldn't touch this again ever. The Naturium Phyto Glow Lip Balm in the shade Latte. I love a lot of flavored lip products, lip balms especially, and they've been coming out left and right. But you'll see in my cutaway, you guys. And if you watched my everyday makeup drawer, this was stuck for the longest time. I couldn't get the product out. Finally, after the first time that I got some out, now I can squeeze some out to the point where I can use it, but it's so stiff in here. And at first I thought it was just because it was cold, and then you guys were telling me, no, I stick it in my pocket and I try and warm it up, and yeah, you know, I've like put it in my car and it never got softer. Even though it's a nice formula, I find it is kind of sticky. I think it does smooth the lip lines pretty well, but it's not, I mean, if it doesn't come out and it just gives me a hassle every single time, I have so many other lip balm formulas that I would rather reach for. So I wouldn't repurchase this, and I won't be getting more flavors or shades. And honestly, it barely even tastes like latte. It's so mild. And if I were going for something that's flavored, I want it to be more flavored than that one. So that's a no for me. I tried it and I'm done trying it. Okay, surprisingly, I loved this from MCO Beauty. I got this in the MCO Beauty Advent Calendar. It's the Glow Lip Balm in Watermelon. This is clearly duping the Laneige based on the packaging. MCO, you know, also dupes a bunch of stuff. This is like one of the best watermelon balms ever. The flavor is so good. It's kind of delicious, okay? I'm not gonna lie. But it's really high shine and smooth. It's more of a slick balm formula. It doesn't have any stickiness to it, so it does slip off of your lips pretty quickly, but I do find that it fills in my lip lines. I think this is a mini though, so I think the original does come with more products than this, but it's so good. This was my favorite thing from that advent calendar. Is that silly? Is that so silly? That was literally my favorite. Okay, I think I enjoyed the lip liners, but they don't sell them individually, so I never talked about them with you guys. But everything else that I tried, there were blush in there were lip products, I'm trying to think of all the other stuff. I think there was even like a mascara. This, aside from the lip liners, my favorite. So I'm leaning on that MCO Beauty does do good lip products based on what I tested. All right, this was another one in an advent calendar. It literally is almost gone. Look at this. Can you believe it? I just tested it a couple of times. It's terrible. From Lana Lips. It's the 101 ointment in strawberry. I think when I initially started testing the Lana Lips formula is when that glazed donut one came out. And they're multi-use balms. Well, I think that one is more of a lip balm, but this is a multi-use one. So it even says on it like can be used on your elbows and to smooth things out like dry surfaces. But when I think of watermelon and it's in the shape of like an applicator that you would put on your lips, that it's meant for your lips. So that's how I used it. It's terrible. All the Lana Lips formula, they are medicinal. They taste super sour. The other one that I have smells fabulous, just like this one, but when it gets into your mouth, it's awful. I don't personally care for it. I think it's kind of a stickier formula, something that I could live without in my life. I'm not a fan of the way that these taste. Do you guys have a similar experience? Do you always taste them? It's not just that one, it's the other one that I have too, 100%. They both taste medicinal. All right, this was another one from the Free People Advent Calendar. What is this called? The Vegan Lip Balm in Blackberry Punch and Berry Tint. It comes in very cool packaging. It's all cardboard, and then you push the bottom up to make the product come out. It's just a chapstick. It's like a mega chapstick, if you will. It has no shine to it. It's mostly just nourishing. I think this is great if you want hydration because it has like seed oils and a bunch of different oils in it. It's very hydrating. It's just not a high shine at all. So imagine a mega chapstick when you need something in the colder months. That's what this is good for. Would never repurchase this again. Not something I have a really big use for, and especially if you only can get free people online, I would never go out of my way to purchase this, but it's not bad. It's nice. I might throw that in my purse. All right, this one was new and it is the last product of today. It's the Lip Ivy Hydrating Gloss Serum from NYX. I have been wearing it on my lips this entire video. I think these are great. They come in some really interesting shades. They have one that's berry that looks straight up black. I'd be interested to see how that came out on me. These are high shine. They have really good pigmentation. They're very opaque, so if you're looking for a gloss that isn't opaque, that's not these. I personally love an opaque gloss. Fabulous. I love it so much. This one is in the shade Bubblegum Burst. They don't say this anywhere on the packaging, but they're supposed to leave a stain over time. So it's not a stain necessarily immediately, but the longer that it sits on your lips, it's supposed to stain you a little bit more. I just love that it's opaque, that it kind of does fill in my lip lines, that it's pretty high shine, and yeah, I don't know, it hits all the things for me. It lasts on my lips quite a bit of time. I definitely would repurchase this in more shades. I'm not going to. No, I would. I totally would. If you caught me in the drugstore and I was like, you know what, I need something like right now, or I just need to buy something, I need to put something in my cart, I would definitely pick up another one of these. I don't think I loved it enough that I need to like jump on Ulta's website right now or NYX's website and like get me more, but it is one of the better drugstore, more opaque lip glosses that I've ever tried. That is it. That was 27 products, you guys. I feel like I talk like nonstop and I'm catching myself going, like trying to breathe in between, but I try and give you so much information and there's a lot going on up there. So I do hope that you guys enjoyed and found it helpful. I hope I didn't influence you to buy anything you were hoping to buy, but maybe you were interested in some of these things, or it's just fun to watch these kind of videos. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I always say, if you are not currently subscribed, you guys, I would love to see you subscribe. I am out of here for today and I hope to catch y'all in my next video. Bye guys.